4 or 5 elixir decks kind of started getting heavy. And Wallace came up and had a big heyday during that time. Where do you think, as we jump into our first game of the day, where do you think all that lies now?
Sorry, could you repeat that question one more time?
Well, the meta for a long time, initially when CRL started there was a kind of a fast cycle meta with some beatdown, and then it kind of went to this midweight meta where a lot of the people who were playing decks like Royal Giant and stuff like that kind of had a big moment, almost at the back end of the Barb Hut meta. And where do you view the meta now?
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a great question. I really want to put my thoughts together so I can answer correctly for you. I think that the devs have done a really good job of transitioning the meta from the super quick cycle that you're mentioning towards more beatdown. Beatdown hasn't been meta in a very long time, but with the golem buff to the golemites, as well as the continuous nerfs to certain like cycle evos like the skeletons, like even with Snowball recently, I think we're transitioning to a meta where it is more graveyard potential or Royal Giant and even Golem, like I said. I feel like it's been so long since we've seen beatdown decks that don't use like Curse Rage Cheese with like Pekka Gob Giant, for example. But this meta is definitely possible to play heavier decks like Golem for the first time.
Now we're talking about some of the popular cards here. They showed it a minute ago for Igor as you look at the beautiful overlays on the left-hand side. Nice work from the production team putting this stuff together. Pretty much every card that Igor had was in that 2 to 3 elixir space of most played cards. And as we get into the double elixir period, so far slight lead for Wallace on the right-hand side, 22-57. The mark as that Evo Inferno, yeah. Man, and it's so crazy to think about how much damage it can do so fast in that evolve form.
Yeah, I really just locked on for a half a second and then already almost evened up in damage. Wallace does strike back with that Evo Snowball though, but then goes back, really good timing on the Mega Knight though, and you're already seeing the Evo Snowball nerf. I think if it was the previous Snowball, the Mega Knight would have also gotten taken away by that Snowball there. But the defense is solid, counter push, not doing too much. Wallace's defense is really locked down.
Wow. The monster will go ahead and smack. Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge moments. Yeah, well, that's kind of how the game works. Mega Knight deep in enemy territory, supported by the Inferno Dragon. Golden Knight can do some cleanup work on the left-hand side, followed by the Ram Rider.
Wow.
Ram Rider does get pushed outside of the Goblin Hut. Wow. Golden Knight dashes all over. Ram Rider goes absolutely wild, and just like that, Igor has blown this open with about 90 seconds left.
Yeah, and the Snowball for defense for Wallace was a half second too late. Ram Rider getting that charge is make a big difference here. Wallace just having to spend so much elixir on that right-hand side, but the other question is how does he get damage back, right? So you have the Mega Knights just defending quite well. The Goblin's time will get an ability off. Wait a second, these Goblins are somehow connecting, and this game is really close all of a sudden, but Evo Inferno Drag, Golden Knight, Ram Rider left in lane.
Well, you saw how much the troops were kind of working against Igor there, trapping the Doctor way back and down to 55 HP on the left-hand side. This is getting very, very tight here. Igor pushing on the left-hand lane. Hut to stop. Drill in opposite direction. Snowball trying to make some room. 218 arrows, 5 HP, and by 1 HP! Oh!
Just almost completely unfazed, which I can't even imagine.
And just sitting there going, all right, well, that happened. Here we go. Game number 2. And looks like after going Ram Rider, going heavy, Igor going to what he's known for. Average elixir right now, very low. As we've got, and you have to imagine that Igor is a guy who was very excited by the invention of the Berserker.
Right. Yeah, I think the Berserker is a really fun card. It really just opens up so many different possibilities. So like something that I actually didn't realize until it happened the other day, like I accidentally used my Berserker to lightning block for my Furnace, because even though it's 2 elixir, it still survives poison, still survives fireball. So you can play the lightning block or your glass cannons as long as those cards do die to poison. So you can use it to block for like Mother Witch. You can use it to block Magic Archer for lightning block. For 2 elixir, it is actually such a really interesting card.
Here goes Igor setting up one more time, going Cannoneer in this one after both players going Princess Tower in the first one.
So on my end, I just lost visual, so I don't know if you can see Rich, but I'm gonna have to carry here.
All right, well, you know, why don't I just describe the action, then you tell me what you think based off of what I'm saying. Miner to the front and Log to clean up some skeletons. Miner will go ahead and do its chip damage on that left-hand side, down to 24-45. Archer Queen at the bridge directly into, wow, we have a Monk, Hog, Evo, Wizard push. EQ trying to break the Monk through, not going to happen, but Wallace is absolutely loading up here at the bridge. Cycled back to a Hog Rider one more time, Ice Spirit to slow it down. And what an Evo Valkyrie. It looked like Wallace had found every single piece necessary, Juicy, to go ahead and get a big breakthrough. He cycled like a madman, and Igor able to hold down the defense and keep things pretty copacetic.
So so Hog, Monk, Wizard. I feel like the biggest thing here is going to be the Monk. I mean, it's fairly obvious, but if you can use that Monk effectively versus the Archer King, you get deflections on offense to tank for the Hog, and even to prevent Rocket Cycle, that's going to be a big difference maker here. Log going to come through and actually activate King Tower. Really common idea with the Monk there. And the defense from Igor is really perfect. Wall's still up damage, just breaking through slowly with the Earthquake chip. But once again, I really think it's going to come down to that Monk prediction potentially onto a Rocket, because that Rocket and Triple Elixir is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
But you have to imagine that, you know, you see that the play so far has been Hog to the right-hand side, Wallace not getting double lane pressure so far, and the Rocket play has been on the left. You know, how much of a factor can Wallace really turn a Rocket Reflection into? Wow.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not going to matter now after that slight mistake by Wallace, just really allowing his Archer Queen to get a bunch of damage. And now he's in a situation where not only does he have to outpace the Rocket, he has to come back against the Rocket, and that's tough versus Evo Valk as well. Evo Valk is shredding his push.
Wallace finally getting some dual lane pressure, the left-hand side down to around 1700 HP after the Wizard gets away. 45 seconds left. EQ working on the right-hand side, Hog in, and that Goblin Hut should pop right before, and it does, but the DPS is enough to prevent any sort of Hog from breaking through. Right-hand side starting to go down a little bit, though. The pressure of these EQ and Hog cycles starting to mount up. Igor with a slight lead gets the Rocket cycled. And now he is just one Rocket away from getting us done as he goes Miner to the front. Won't even need it to secure the victory, most likely. Although we probably will see him throw a victory Rocket out there. And there we go. Igor with the comeback, getting it done in game number 2.
Yeah, GG's.
Came out as a competitive format in 2021. We were in a very different place overall in the card count in the meta.
Barbell coming through onto a Goblin Barrel here. Double Cannoneer out. Cannoneer, something we haven't talked about yet today. Cannoneer did get a rework where it does hit a little bit faster, but not quite as hard damage-wise. So a little bit more comparable to the Princess Tower even, allowing it to be honestly used maybe even a little bit more. Like it might have even been considered like a buff. So yeah, it's cool to see both the players using this here. Mortar from Wallace, interesting. And then a Evo Furnace, first Evo Furnace of the day, I just realized. It's interesting.
Thoughts on the Evo Furnace? Been a lot of conversation surrounding this evolved building and its new look.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. The biggest problem is it's basically the first like troop spawner in Clash Royale that spawns a unit that cannot be taken out by Princess Towers. And I think that's the reason why it's so strong and so devastating in a lot of situations. Because the Witch, you know, she's going to spawn skeletons, Princess Tower take it out, no problem. If unsupported, of course. And then the Night Witch, the bats, no problem. But if you just play a Furnace in the back, that immediately becomes a really big issue to deal with. Especially since it's no longer a building. You know, it's going to continue. It's going to be a troop that you can push as well, and you cannot Earthquake it anymore. Honestly, just a big difference maker here for sure.
Fireball working on the Princess on the left-hand side. And one little swipe there gets things going on the right-hand lane. Evo barrel in for Igor. And Wallace now setting up. Gonna actually just go ahead and kind of let this one wither away, not put too much effort behind it as he prepares to play defense on the right-hand lane.
Skeleton on the board. Skeleton King is going to be, for both players here, really good versus Cannoneer. Really interesting. And that's the other thing about Power Crew, what it's like. Not only are we thinking about the cards, the decks, that can counter what, but both players maybe even expecting the Cannoneer here and bringing the Skeleton King as an actual counter. And here's the go first. Even versus the Cannoneer, which Cannoneer is the only tower troop that can one-shot those Fire Spirits, the Evo Furnace itself is just so strong, spawning so many Fire Spirits to overwhelm.
Heading into sudden death overtime. For the moment, Igor does have the lead with that 1441 on the right-hand side. Fireball plus making it a different story. And once again, as we get into late game, it's Wallace just kind of escaping with some damage.
Right.
What does Igor need to do to get himself back in this one in our sudden death overtime?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that he's definitely going to need to cycle back to the Evo Furnace. I think the Evo Gombrel is also another X factor for him here, right? Especially versus the Cannoneer. Getting that double barrel push could be huge. On the offense that we're seeing here, it's going to be really tough.
Final minute.
So looks like both of the casters are losing some video. Okay, the video is back on my end. And Barbo coming out left in lane, 39 seconds on the clock. Princess getting taken out as it replaces it immediately. I really like this defensive Evo Mortar from Wallace. That is really gonna maybe end up securing the entire deal here for him, as it really just sentries on his side of the map, and with no big skill to deal with it, it just really kind of stalled out. But here comes the Evo Barrel that we were talking about. Barbo coming through, Gob getting the right, but the Goblin Barrel is doing quite a bit of damage, and all of a sudden, the Igor's the one winning. Skeletons are connecting as well. No Barber and Cycle Mortar helps out, and Wallace is... Oh my gosh.
Wallace cannot believe it.
Good, very, very versed.
He has jumped way up that leaderboard. So those of you who are thinking about it, there's still some stuff left out there to get done. You just need one good month, and you could suddenly be in the conversation.
Yeah, and like what Rich is saying, if you guys want to participate in the Clash Royale League, if you want a chance to play on the biggest of stages for these events, all you have to do, the first stage, is top 1,000 in Path of Legends, and it's not too late. There's still ways to qualify. There's still ways to get on that point leaderboard, lock in, and hopefully I'll see you in Atlanta.
Doesn't the Furnace kind of look like he should have been released during Halloween? He has like a very Halloween I don't even know, but yes, the Furnace has a very Halloween kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, you're kind of right. I don't know what it is, but I can't really put my finger on it, but you're definitely right. It definitely does give off that vibe.
Like, I don't know if there's lore behind the Furnace. I haven't checked on it, but it looks like the Furnace was magically like given life by the wizards. Like maybe the classic wizard was like Calibur Blam, and then now we have a walking. I don't know what he says. Cast a spell. He wouldn't say fireball.
He does say fireball.
But he wouldn't say it to turn a furnace into that's already the fireball.
Yeah. He probably would just like show his beautiful, luscious hair, and then call upon the hair legend for power.
Here we go. And sending that on. Don, is there lore behind the furnace conversion? Let us know. Here we are into approaching double elixir time. Fireball going to go ahead and get on that evolved furnace. Doesn't matter much. And that's going to be maybe one. Did the log do its job? No. One shot does get through. So to kick off our double elixir time, Curry does connect with the Royal Giant.
Really nice play there by Curry with the E-Spirit. Not only hit the skeletons, but changed from the furnace fire spirits to the furnace. And even though furnace does survive fireball, it's very, very low HP after that. So he did a good job of using that E-Spirit to clean off the board. Another big push on the right-hand lane. And the Barbro coming through does a good job of kind of tanking for the RG. But I really like the Earthquake. Earthquake, other than pros, like I feel like Earthquake is not used enough in this sort of situation, just for the slowing down of those units. Yes, it does a bunch of damage to towers, but it does slow down all units a significant amount to really give your tower and your buildings enough time to get that damage in. And here we see another Earthquake driving down, slowing that RG.
And the Monk right in front, doing a good job. Not going to take care of the furnace though. And this push stopped easily, and now we're starting to stack the furnace play. Fisherman pulls the evolved across the board. Hog Rider should get one, and it does. Doesn't get two. 21:39 is the mark, as we are very tight. 20 HP separating in this right-hand lane with under 2 minutes to go.
Berserker back in cycle dealing with the Wizard. It's going to push forward. Ice Spirit might jump on, but the Wizard is going to splash it down. We see a high furnace, but the Fisherman lock skeletons are not supporting. This is going to be a big push for Curry. It could be fairly difficult to stop, but the Evo Tesla is in cycle rate.
And Monk with one more good reflection. This time the Evo RG has a pretty significant amount of HP, forces a second Tesla out. So the defense will end up holding, but now a pretty nice elixir advantage for Curry as we go into triple. Let's see if he's able to capitalize on that against the Hog Q cycles.
Monk to the bridge once again. High furnace, not giving fireball value. Ice Spirit in a log. Trying to put this Monk back to a spot where it doesn't deflect the tower, but it does get pushed forward by the RG. Free fireball, but pre-placement of the Tesla in a anti-fireball position, but another Evo Royal Giant being placed to the bridge immediately with the Fisherman, the four-way, the Berserker, and Curry just continuing to apply pressure. The Ice Spirit does get taken out, but a solid defense nonetheless.
And somehow that RG doesn't get a shot off. 21 seconds left, and it's looking like Clown, after putting together a number of great defenses, has one more defense he has to get done. Huge slow, pre-fireball, tries to get the Tesla. Tesla dropped late to hold, 7 seconds left. Log now for some cycle. RG needs to not shoot. RG shoots 15:01, EQ opposite direction. GG, well played, and Clown just put together a defensive masterclass. It's harder to just kind of make a simple progression from, oh, hey, well, he played this, now I'm going to go this direction. What is the conversation like, as far as you know, about getting ready for game number 2? Is it more just, hey, we kind of had these things planned, or is there more of a direction that you're taking based on reactions?
I would assume there's definitely a lot of reactionary elements to it. Obviously, you're going to have like certain stuff planned, like you said, or there's obviously always certain decks that players are a little bit better with when it comes to what they're practicing. But I think that you are inputting the information of what was played in game 1, and you're trying to, once again, you're not trying to guess exactly what deck your opponent is going to play next, but based on the given information, you want to just try to get yourself in a situation where you have a 50-50 matchup, or maybe even slightly better. And that's what the coaches' jobs are, really. They're just trying to get that fairly decent, even matchup for their players, and then it's on the players to showcase their gameplay. Speaking of amazing gameplay, lovely snowball there to keep the, or to get rid of the opposing Spear Empress for Curry here. Very well played.
first 90 seconds passing, and Drill will make its work on the right-hand side. Bar Barrel to pull the Berserker back away from support. Snowball to clean up. And, you know, that's one of the things about the Evo Snowball. We saw that earlier today with Wallace playing Evo Snowball alongside the Drill, is, you know, people have gotten pretty darn good at picking up the goblins that pop out of that Drill. Evo Snowball, able to collect and force you to at least spend more elixir or pick your poison and take some more damage. So what a great synergy between a card that was already good with Drill and now it's better.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to think about how no one even uses Evo Drill. I think I did an evolution tier list the other day. I think Drill might be the worst Evo, just because there's no reason you'd want to use it. You'd rather use regular Drill almost most of the time, and then use some sort of supporting Evos like that Evo Snowball.
Yeah, it's interesting because Evo Drill was, for a long time, one of the most abused and crazy heroes. But as other things come in and change the game, we see the evolution of the game, pun intended. Here we go, final 20 seconds of regulation time, and no one's really established any sort of strong foothold here. A slight lead for Curry on that right-hand side, but after looking for the first 3 minutes of gameplay, are you seeing any sort of rhythm or pattern that makes you feel like we're leaning one direction or the other?
I do think that I'm liking Clown's situation a little bit. The defense is really solid. The Bar Barrel is great versus Drill Snowball. And then here comes the Graveyard finally. This is what he's been waiting for. He does get the Graveyard down. Curry does have the poison, but he's doing a great job of using his Spear Empress. And he's not going to get any damage right now. But I think as we head into Triple Elixir, we're going to start seeing some big Evo 9 Spear Empress pushes. It's going to be tough for Curry to defend.
And that is raises the question, right? You're obviously, one of your goals if you're Clown is to keep the poison off of your own tower. Where do you see him getting the primary damage out of this deck? Out of the graveyards themselves, or out of, I'm guessing that's a poison as the final card, could be wrong.
Yeah.
Or from some of these knights and empresses.
I think the biggest thing in this matchup is that you're going for your Graveyard, but you're also going for these big pushes. And obviously it is on Curry. If he is able to perfectly defend, like, he will win this game. But if one Spear Empress connection is all it takes, I think that if Clown is going to win this game, that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to take.
And classic Snowball gets some room. 1900 HP on the left-hand side. 45 seconds left. Graveyard in on the right-hand lane. And Clown doing his best to press the issue, but now Curry has opened up enough of a lead that Clown is forced to put on some real damage. So you see the pressure staying on. Evo Knight now back to a graveyard one more time. Princess does target Evo Knight. Wow. And Poison's working on defense. Damage coming in from these skeletons. And Clown ripping some elixir there as he's trying to wait for his defense. And that might be enough to guarantee game number 2 win for Curry.
Yeah, one last Graveyard can come down, but Curry doing a great job of just controlling the Spear Empress. He did a perfect job of controlling the Spear Empress with his, and he also somehow always was able to get his Spear Empress to lock on. He really just had a really good
play his defense and not make mistakes. Solid lockdown. Going into game number 3, as we get ready, hopefully get a look here at some of the decks, and we're going to take a look at Hog here. Any adjustments you would make for either of these two players, or continue along the course that you see?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think, I mean, there's just so many possibilities when it comes to Clash Royale. Like, there's definitely so many adjustments that can be made. As we head into game 3 here, I mean, we do have an interesting matchup. It looks like Monk RZ versus what looks to be a Hog Rider Boss Bandit deck. A lot of the time, the Fisherman does a great job in this sort of matchup. We'll see as the cards continue to unfold what Curry has in store for us here.
In a pretty solid Boss Bandit log sequence, the Magic, or the Wizard, will come out on top out of the conversation, but Curry right back to Hog, and gonna have to rely on a Monk for defense as Clown here. King Tower activation will, of course, be impactful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Hog Rider is going to struggle to connect. He's already got a solid amount of damage so far. He does have guards too. So this guards is going to make a big difference. A lot of time Hog use skeletons, which is just free fodder for the rage and the Eastern contact. But those guards are going to be very spell resistant and give Curry an even better chance to defend versus these big pushes.
And Uiz absorbs the first shot. Boss Bandit does use the ability and get back onto the Wizard. Fish Boy goes down and forced to use some goblins to pick all that up. And Curry putting the pressure on here, but the rage on defense enough to slow things down. Although, with this Monk going down here fairly soon, a slight elixir advantage it seems maybe, or it wasn't to be for Curry. Clown instead turns it around and decides to go RG in the opposite lane to our right-hand side.
Yeah, this is something that I talk a lot about when it comes to Royal Giant. Royal Giant can really be played in two ways. It's one of the most unique decks in Clash Royale. You can play as a cycle deck or you can play as a beatdown deck. And I always tell people, if you're going against a cheap cycle deck, play it like a beatdown. And that's what Clown's doing right here, the double RG. And then he's got the Monk ability deflecting the tower. He's defending the right side quite nicely. And even the log gets deflected from Curry, and this Royal Giant continues to be on the tower, taking it all the way down to 470, even lower with the Fireball taking it down all the way to 0 with the last Royal Giant hit. Wow, Clown really just changing everything here in game 3, and that's going to be the set.
And that's what you were talking about, Juice, about turning this in points.
Prize pool.
Well, let's take a look as we jump into our opening matchup, joining it just a moment behind. And yeah, okay, you know what, Jackson? I said the same thing. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, for a second, since we joined late, I thought he played Minion Horde Bridge first play, but looks like what we've missed is a minor wall breakers push left the lane. He defended with Minion Horde, and then Arden then defending that with the Mighty Miner. This is interesting. Minion Horde is something we haven't seen in Clash Royale League in a very long time, maybe ever. But as we know, minions did get a buff, a range buff recently, and they're honestly really, really, really strong, despite the fact that Furnace is really ramped meta. So that goes to show like how strong they are even more. But Adriel decided to go for double minions here, which I feel like could be like an insane like play. It could end up getting a little wild with some minions on the tower here and there, but at the same time, it is a card that if Arden plays perfectly, he should be able to control with the Mighty Miner, with the Tesla. The Evo is important, but also the Evo wall breakers should do a good job for controlling the minions in the minion horde here.
First 90 seconds away, and Arden now with the Evo wall breakers behind, Mortar high to hold, Tesla to prevent any sort of mortar lock will do its job fine. And Adriel, let's see if he sets up in the back here and uses this elixir advantage to create something. And he will. He'll send some minions in the back, kind of the best option that he has. They should still maybe interact with that Tesla. Miner goes and picks up the Tesla aggro, and now Poison to clear the defensive minions. And he's not going to get one on tower, but you see Arden had to get that Mighty Miner out, maybe in a less than ideal situation.
Yeah, definitely. Minions dropping up high, going to force the Mighty Miner ability. Miner Poison left hand lane. Deciding to switch lanes here. I don't know if I agree with that. A lot of times you do want to go same lane as Siege decks. Siege meaning Mortar or Expel, because here comes the Mortar, and a lot of the time you do want to poison the tower plus Mortar.
Oh boy.
And he's low in elixir. Wait, Evil Mortar might just lock. Okay, he does get the Mighty Miner down in time.
And for a second, that's what I was talking about. That's why I said, oh boy there, Jackson. It was, it looked for a second like the Miner might walk close enough. And this is a couple of times now where this deck out of Adriel has forced Arden to make funky plays, right? The Mighty Miner now used a couple of times for kind of funky pickups, especially that just stopping that one swipe from a minion. But look at the results of this still. Adriel up by about 300 and change, a little under 300 HP. Miner now will go ahead and start lowering the gap. but it's still this kind of harassment that
Yeah.
Adriel was able to create is significant.
Yeah, so really interesting macro here. See, as Arden just realizes that he needs to go same lane, starts attacking the right, but then Adriel, the Furnace on the left, getting one down and cycling to the Evo Furnace as well. And since Arden does not have the Cannoneer, he has the Princess Tower, he's really struggling to defend. And now Adriel with the Mortar Evo. So we have Evo Furnace, another Furnace, a Mortar Evo on the board, and Adriel, you can see him, that's the most emotion you'll see from Adriel. A little bit of a eyebrow raise, a little bit confused on how in the world Arden was able to defend here, but he's still up damage, minor poisoning inbound, and we're heading into triplex or overtime here, Rich. And one wall break connects. This is going to be a fairly even match here.
859 to 1159. So just a few hundred HP separating these two. Miner goes to the inside. Wallbreaker picks up, but the Miner does retarget to the tower. That is a huge retarget that happens. Down to under 500 HP on the right-hand lane is Arden with the poison. Poison now working opposite direction. 30 seconds left. You see Arden given the sigh there, or Adriel, Arden given the sigh, knowing that he finally got overwhelmed, and maybe,
you know, and there's a lot of mind games that go into it, but once again, I think if Arden just brings out a deck that's solid and fairly unpredictable, he should be able to be in a pretty solid situation.
And now looking back at it, the Minion Horde was played twice overall in that game by Adriel. That still doesn't matter. Got the win either way, and here goes a man after your heart, Electro Giant. a little beat down here for Arden Toas in game 2.
Lightning gonna drop, but the cannon pulling that over. The Spear Empress is gonna stay alive. You can see once again, Arden just like wearing his emotions on his shoulder here, and yeah, Spear Empress is gonna get a hit. This is definitely not the start he wanted. That 1 HP cannon really throwing a wrench in his plans, but you know, there's still a lot of game to be played, and he knows that. He's going to drop the cage, get the Evos in cycle, and do his very best.
First minute away, Adriel just opts to get his cannon cycled, put everything in the right order that he wants for this next step, puts the Empress in the back corner.
Yeah, and then once again, you got to talk about the Adriel's just team for deck picking. Really solid stuff here. Cannon plus Drill for E-Giant plus Evo Snowball for E-Giant. And then the Evo Cannon also one of the best counters, the Evo Archers. Arden does have the Spear Empress. I do like the Spear Empress plus E-Giant synergy. Spear Empress does a great job of just kind of hovering over the river and trying to snipe at those buildings to get the E-Giant to the tower. But you can see how Adriel is just controlling that really nicely. One note though, once again, the cannon Evo out of cycle now. Maybe there's a chance that Arden makes something happen to Evo Archers here.
Well, let's take a look. In the double elixir, Adriel cycles his knight to the left-hand side, goes for the Empress to work on the middle. Fireball should get it all together.
Wow.
And what an absolute, you know, I have to think there, Juicy, as I see the results of that was an absolute troll job from Adriel. That he was just going, hey, I'm going to look like I'm cheesy just trying to snipe your cage, but really I'm hovering a fireball ready for you to put those Evo Archers down.
Yeah. Yeah. The counter push is here. Tornado is out. Should be able to take out the Spear Empress pretty quickly. But the E-Giant is not making it to the tower, and the Knight's going to do a great job of tanking. So now it's Adriel's time to attack once again.
Now you mentioned, you talk about the different Evos being out, Evo Archers out of cycle. That was a good opportunity. Either way, both players taking swings, Juicy, but so far no one able to find any sort of real opportunity for a breakthrough.
Yeah, that Gold Knight it's definitely going to give him a chance here, but the Spear Empress just hits so hard. It really is like a mini P.E.K.K.A. in the air. Even though the reflection's coming through, he still has so much HP as well. So E-Giant really struggling to make it to the tower here.
Into sudden death overtime, and Arden unhappy with something there.
Yeah. And this is what I mean. I really don't think the emotions are going to help you here. I think you have to stay locked in, and you have to play to the best of your ability, no matter how difficult the matchup or how unlucky the situation is.
Oh,
but yeah, just Goblins connecting here. The bar barrel just too early. He's shaking his head. He's angry. This is not what you want to see.
Well, I'm guessing, I believe Arden streams while he's competing too, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there. So, you know, it's also one of those things where you're also trying to be entertainment at the same time. I might be wrong with whether he's streaming or not, but I think he does. And that's one of those things too. I mean, you know better than anybody that it's maybe at least a little bit more challenging playing when you're trying to be entertaining as well as opposed to just being locked in.
Sure. Yeah, 35 seconds on the clock. Cannon's on the board. E-Giant, he does get a decent lightning, but there it is. The Tornado nerf once again. Just, it's not doing really any damage here to the Spear Empress. So lightning not able to take it out. And another Spear Empress on the board once again. I feel bad. I mean, I feel bad. Like, as a fellow E-Giant enjoyer, I don't think there's any way Arden's winning this game. He knows it. He drops the lightning on the king, and it's over here, Rich.
And a 2-0 for Adriel. And you put together a solid gameplay with a great monthly finals this year inconsistently. And it puts some of those players who've had runs like that, puts the runs of how long Surgical Goblin was good, how long Ruben was good, how long Mugi. I mean, Mugi is still here this weekend. We'll see how he performs. It puts a lot of those performances in more perspective, and of course, the performance of Mohamed Light as well, when you think about just how hard it is to be good for that long.
All right, hop into game one. We have Pedro at the top of your screen with what looks to be a very solid Lava Hound deck. First, the Lava deck of the day. Lucas here with one of the more trendy ladder decks that I've seen on the leaderboard. Roll Giant, Berserker, Furnace, really interesting deck. And then, of course, the minions as well. Pedro does have the arrows ready for the minions, though. I don't know. It might be fairly difficult for Lucas to defend these air pushes, especially if Pedro does have the lightning for that Furnace.
RG to the right-hand side. And Skelly Drags plus the Brawler going to work, but the Evo, or not the Evo, the Rage doing a little bit to help support on the Royal Giant.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about Lucas's game plan here against the Lava Hound deck, how much of it is about trying to keep Pedro from feeling comfortable playing Lava Hounds? How much of it is about like lane play decision? Where do you put sort of the keys to this for Lucas?
I think one of the keys is definitely to apply pressure, but wow, Pedro actually finding the opportunity to play the Lava Hound. Like you said, I do think applying pressure, preventing Lava Hound from being placed is definitely a big one, but now we have a Lava Hound, Spear Empress. Lightning is in the deck, and the Spear Empress is going to two-shot. He does get it taken out, but now what do you have for these Lava Pups?
And the answer is really not very much. Lava Pups in, and that's just going to be one of those ones that maybe you expect to see Lucas talk about on Twitter later. And either way, that changed very quickly. And you know, you talk about
and he's been qualifying for all the monthly finals on his own. So I'm sure all of these thoughts are going through his head. Looks like he is going to a little bit more of a quick cycle with the Snowball. Most likely going to be seeing a Goblin Drill deck, a Goblin Drill Golden Knight. Snowball. Pedro, on the other hand, going to his bread and butter, Miner Cycle. It's just what he's known for. It's gonna be an interesting matchup, but we'll see how the decks continue to unfold.
first 40 seconds away, and little exchanges back and forth. Goes to make sure the Berserker does not tap on that left-hand side.
Okay. Roll Delivery. Interesting. Don't see Roll Delivery in these decks super often, unless it's paired with Rocket. That could make sense, but I think a Poison would definitely be ideal for Pedro in this situation. Just something to help deal with the Magic Archer. He does not poison the Marcher here, though, so that makes me think that Pedro's last card might actually be the Rocket for that secondary win condition.
And that's a pretty significant connection there from the Marcher early on.
Yeah.
We'll see. And Delivery is interesting, too. I mean, you can go back to when Delivery still had knockback which was such a crazy version
I totally forgot
of
about
Royal
it.
delivery. Yeah. Yeah, one of the, but at the time was completely insane. And now obviously no longer has that feature.
That's
And
what
we'll
we
see.
need. Evo roll delivery, Rich. Evo roll delivery. Bring back the knockback every third time you play it. That sounds super strong though. I mean, it already does a solid amount of damage. Spawning in a recruit with a shield. It's one of the best defensive cards in the game. I think it's one of the most underrated cards. The only thing that really holds it back is that it is a spell. It a lot of the time can clog up your hand, as well as it can only be played on your side of the map, of course, as a spell. So it's more of a troop than anything.
I mean, so that's interesting, talking about Evo for delivery. I mean, the simple one is delivery gives you an Evo recruit. Not that interesting to me. Delivery gives you, lets you, again, here you go. Here's the rocket cycle. Golden Knight will run far away from that. So that's just a rocket on tower. Good use of the ability for Lucas to escape the rocket. So you could do, the Evo could give the delivery knockback. Okay. What if the Evo let you deliver anywhere?
Yeah, I thought about that for the longest time. I think that would be super OP. Like, people just be psyching deliveries and just play on the tower over and over again. It'd be like the new, like, best miner, honestly.
Well, we'll see. I guess it depends on how many cycles it gets. Either way, cycle working right now for Pedro, who's up one game and up a ton of damage. So far, Lucas not finding really any way to get to the second level, and with this drill deck, he needs to find that. Magic Archer hasn't had much of an impact since earlier in, and that one will connect here. Miner going to go to the backside. Ewiz will pick it up.
Magic
Will
Archer,
this Magic Archer be close enough? There we go.
There, yeah, he gets 2 hits there. The Tesla is placed fairly well. The Ice Spirit, not so much. He's actually really struggling to take this Magic Archer off the board. He did fail it earlier. Just thinking about how Lucas could win this game, I think he failed it earlier, but an Evo Snowball into a really good Marcher connection could work. The biggest problem is that Pedro doesn't have like a really good tank though. You know, he has the roll delivery, he has the Berserker, but those can die pretty easily. A lot of the time the Marcher, you want to line through like a Knight or something to get a really solid connection.
Miner plus the Goblins. Ewiz does not turn around to the Miner, so Lucas forced to play a Golden Knight on that as well. And that was just a half step high on that Ewiz. Miner to the outside again. The cycle creates for Pedro. And remember, still Rocket to try to make some room. So it's maybe one more defense for Pedro to secure this 2-0 against Lucas. Lucas now playing into the right-hand lane, operating in both sides. It's going to have to be a drill. I don't think Magic Archer is going to get an opportunity here. Does get a shot through the Berserker. Miner gets on tower. And now Pedro can throw a victory rocket. GG, well played. And Pedro makes short work of Lucas in the opening round of competition and sends him down to the lower bracket.
Yeah, Pedro's defense